Hello YouTube. I wanted to make a quick video about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and that is I am a progressive. Politically, I identify as a progressive liberal, a left-wing liberal, basically a Bernie Sanders type of guy. And while I do agree with the American left on probably 97% of the issues, there are areas where I do tend to disagree with the left, and it's not necessarily specific policy disagreements. It's just particular nitpicks about the left that tend to bother me. And I just thought it would be interesting to make a video addressing those nitpicks. So even though I am a progressive liberal, I want Bernie Sanders to run in 2020, and I think he would destroy he who shall not be mentioned. I do have problems, some nitpicks with the American left. I'm about to talk about those. The first one would be I notice on the left, oftentimes from a lot of people on the left, there tends to be this anti-wealthy person mentality. And while I definitely agree the wealthy should pay more in taxes, because during the 1950s and 60s, the golden age of economic expansion, the wealthy paid much higher taxes than they did now, and it only makes sense from a practical standpoint that they pay higher taxes. I don't necessarily dislike wealthy people. I tend to notice this sentiment from a lot of people on the left that, wealthy people across the board, they're all evil exploiters. And I mean, well, in the end of the day, wealthy people are people. There are good wealthy people and there are bad wealthy people. So I don't like how a lot of times on the left it's portrayed as if all wealthy people are indiscriminately bad. I don't necessarily blame the wealthy people. I blame the politicians for our corrupt corporatist politicians for allowing the wealthy to get away with not paying what is rightfully their fair share. So I absolutely agree that the wealthy should pay higher taxes. I don't necessarily approve of the mindset that all wealthy people are evil. And I do notice from the left there tends to be just this as if wealthy people are just scumbags kind of mentality that I don't necessarily agree with. The second issue is on the left, I do notice there tends to be kind of a anti-religious sentiment at times, and that does bother me because I myself am a devoted Christian, even though politically I am a left liberal because I just agree with them on a majority of issues. But I don't like how at times I think the left can be too harsh towards people who be too harsh towards others' religious beliefs. I don't necessarily agree with that, and mainly it's just because I myself am a Christian. So I don't really like, there does tend to be somewhat of an anti-religious sentiment on the left. It does kind of bother me at times from some people on the left. The third one is on the issue of racism. I do think at times people on the left are too quick to call something racist. I was watching a debate, and don't get me wrong, there is a lot of racism today. Absolutely. I mean, our criminal justice system, there is a lot of racism in our criminal justice system if you just look at the statistics and whatnot. So racism is definitely a problem. I'm not trying to undermine that, but I do think at times people on the left can be too quick to call something racist. For example, I was watching a debate between a conservative guy and a liberal guy, and the conservative dude said, I'm not going to give any names, but the conservative dude said, yeah, all these immigrants coming over here, they're a massive problem. Yeah, and we need to close our borders because these immigrants are coming over here. And it wasn't Donald Trump who said this, by the way, but I'm quoting. And then the liberal guy immediately said, that is the most racist thing I've ever heard. I mean, I think the guy who was advocating for closed borders, I think he was wrong but I don't think he was necessarily a racist. He was just wrong on policy. But in my opinion, if you're in favor of closed borders, I don't think that makes you a racist. And just on the left, there are many examples of that where people on the left can be a bit too quick to call something racist. And there's definitely big problems with racism, as I said, such as in our criminal justice system. But I do think at times people on the left can be a bit too quick to call something racist. And I think we should, in good faith, I don't think we should just immediately assume somebody's a racist. And finally, the fourth area that I do tend to disagree with the left on is the left, and this really does bother me, the left, a lot of people on the left support government taxpayer funding for art projects. I just don't agree with that. Now, I do agree with, art classes in terms of education, taxpayer funding for that, that's fine. But I don't agree with, entire art projects being funded through tax dollars. And that's honestly about it. So overall, I am a liberal progressive, but I do have some minor disagreements.